everyone, welcome back to yoga. My name is Ashley, and today we are going to be working on postures that help to support our lymphatic system. Our lymphatic system is really important for helping to clean our blood and to help get pathogens out of the body or process them so that we can excrete them either in our urine or in our poop. So if we have an efficient lymphatic system, that means that it will be helpful for our immune systems as well to help fight off external pathogens. This is really important for this time of year during the autumn season when our immune systems start to kind of take a plunge just naturally. Colder temperatures tend to have that effect on our bodies, so we will be more vulnerable to pathogenic invasions, to colds and flus and things like that. And that's why you'll see more prevalence of colds and flus during the colder months. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and practice. You are going to need today at least 1 or 2 blocks and something like a pillow, a bolster, or a bolster and a blanket, a stack of blankets, anything like that. That's for your hips at the very end for Viparita Karani, legs at the wall. Go ahead and come into a comfortable seat on your mat. Place your hands somewhere comfortable on your thighs, or you can stack one palm and the other. And just take a moment to connect to your natural breath. Sit up nice and tall, lining up the spine, allowing your head to line up over your shoulders to line up over your hips. And just notice how you're feeling today, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Just greeting yourself where you're at today. No judgment. Only curiosity and compassion. Take a few slow, steady breaths just to get that rhythm going in the breath. Keeping that steadiness and rhythm in your breath, gently open your eyes. Please begin on all fours, hands and knees. Make sure your wrists line up with your shoulders and your knees line up with your hips. Then begin for cat and cow, rounding your spine starting from your tailbone, moving all the way up into your upper back. Take your chin to your chest. And on your inhale, reverse the movement, curl into your lower, middle, and upper back, moving all the way up the spine, lifting your chin, pressing the back of your head up and back. Continue back and forth between these two postures at your own pace, linking your movement with your breath. And you might choose to switch where you inhale and exhale. Maybe you inhale on the round and exhale on the lengthen. Sometimes it's fun to play with that, see how it feels in your body. Maybe move your hips and your shoulders, head and neck more organically, moving in whatever way feels good to you. Maybe do crazy 8s in your spine or spirals, and just do whatever comes to you naturally, whatever feels appropriate in your body. Just keep the breath flowing. And then come back to a neutral spine. Take your hands a little more forward on your mat, index fingers pointing straight ahead, and walk your knees back. Curl your toes under, come into downward facing dog, lifting your knees up. Start with bent knees. Push your arms straighter as you push your hips high and your thighs back. And then push your feet down and like you're trying to pull them apart. Then do or don't work your legs straighter and maybe take your heels to the floor. For today, do your best to hold still in your downward dog unless you need to move around a little bit. And just feel your breath pumping and breathing, pulsating through your body, sending all that oxygen into all the muscles in your body. Maybe even bringing your attention to a place in your body that feels like it needs a little extra love and visualizing your breath moving into that space. Look forward, walk your feet forward to your front of your mat. Bring your feet hip distance, so you're about 2 fist width apart from your arches. Then bend your knees so ribs and thighs touch as you lengthen your spine to a flatter back. And then on your exhale, fold heart first, head last, face toward your shins. Then inhale, lengthen, lift up your chin, flatter back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. And stay here, just drop your head. If you can straighten your legs and keep your ribs and thighs together, feel free to do so. Maybe take your feet a little bit wider so you have a wider base. And then maybe take your hands to your elbows and hold onto your upper arms. Even use your hands to pull a little weight down through your elbows toward the floor, giving yourself a little bit of a stretch on your outer armpits. You can stay still or swing side to side, bending one knee, straightening the other. Slow, gentle movements, deep, even breath. And then come back to neutral. Drop your fingertips to the floor. Inhale, lengthen your spine, lift your chin, look forward. Push your weight into your feet. Then take your hands onto your hips, move your shoulders back, and slowly stand up. And then step your feet together. You can turn or stay where you are. Take your arms over your head. Interlace your fingers, extend pointer finger, cross your thumbs. Then lean your hips to one side and your torso to the other side for a crescent. Push evenly through your inner feet. Move your rib cage back and lift your chin slightly. Be as sideways as possible, and it doesn't need to be your deepest crescent today, just enough to get a little bit of a side stretch, side opening. And inhale, come all the way back up and switch to the other side. Leaning your hips just as much in one direction as you lean your torso in the other direction, and pushing just as much weight into one foot as the other. Lifting and straightening both arms just as much as the other. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, lower your arms by your side. Interlace your fingers behind your lower back. Move your shoulder blades toward each other. And then work your arms toward straight. Then with your feet together, knees together, set your hips back just a little bit, so not like chair pose. Round your back, and then bring your rib cage to your thighs. And then let your arms go beyond your head if they do, and just drop your face into your shins. So this isn't chair pose variation. This is more of a standing forward fold, hands bound. So if you can keep ribs to thighs and straighten your legs, feel free to go ahead and do so. And keep pushing evenly through your feet. Watch out for shoulders falling toward the floor and try to pull them away from your ears. That'll help to promote a nice lymphatic flow through your neck area. The neck area is really important, and we'll get to that a little later towards the end with some neck stretches. And that's one of the most important places to work with when you're dealing with lymphatic drainage. Release your fingertips to the floor. Inhale, lengthen your spine halfway. Bend your knees, then step your left leg back to a lunge and lower your left knee to the floor. Pull your back knee slightly forward so the flesh of your knee moves toward your toes. Then place your hands on your hips and lift your torso up. From here, you can stay just working your hips forward, ribs back, and lengthening through your spine, or reach your arms all the way up over your head and point your palms toward each other. Maybe join your palms. Most important is to reach up, get as much length in the spine as possible and in the sides of your body. Then and only then maybe lower your hips as you start to upper back bend, but keep it more in your upper back rather than your lower back. Try not to hold your breath. Take your hands to the floor as you take your hips back and surround your right foot. Slide your left knee back a few inches and then work your right leg straighter. Point your right toes up, flare your toes. Move right hip back, left hip forward, and fold heart first, head last over your right leg. Half Hanuman. Gently pull your right heel towards your hips and then push your left knee toward your hips. And slowly walk your hands back. Lift your torso up and bend your right knee. Plant your right foot down and then pull your back leg slightly forward again like you had it before. And then take either your left hand to the floor and reach your right arm up for a more subtle twist, or take your right hand to your right thigh, lift your left arm up, crescent a little to your right, and then take a deeper twist, armpit outside your thigh. Do or don't join your palms in front of your heart. Press right hip back, left hip forward. Maybe turn your gaze up toward the ceiling. And remember to keep your breath flowing. Look down at the floor, untwist. Take your hands to surround your right foot. Then step your left foot next to your right foot. Lengthen your spine. Bend your knees and step your right leg back to a lunge. Take your back knee to the floor and again slide your back knee forward so your flesh of your knee moves toward your toes. Then keep pressing your hips forward as you lift your torso, hands to hips. Stay working here, just working length in your spine, or reach your arms over your head. Palms point toward each other. Draw your left hip back, right hip forward. Tailbone forward, lengthen up, and maybe go back. Your choice. Maybe sit a little deeper. Lift your hips back up. Take your hands to surround your left foot. Then slide your right knee back. Work your left leg towards straight. Lift your left toes up. Flare your toes and then fold. Heart first, head last. Maybe walk your arms more forward as you fold, forehead towards your knee. It's more like your left temple inside your inner knee. Reach for that direction. Next inhale, slowly lengthen your spine. Walk your hands back. Bend your left knee, plant your foot flat onto the floor, slide your back knee forward. And again, either take right hand to the floor under your shoulder and then reach your left arm up for a twist, or take left hand to thigh, right arm up, lean to the left and then twist, deeper twist. And again, choose whichever one feels better to you. One might be a little bit too difficult, or the other one just might feel better. So choose wisely. This practice is more about finding what works for you rather than working against you. So always just do what feels best. Untwist, surround your foot with your hands, and then curl your back toes under, lift your knees, step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand up. Reach your arms all the way up over your head. Then as you exhale, join your palms in front of your heart. All right, tree pose. Take your right foot anywhere along the inner edge of your left leg, as long as you're not pushing into your knee. The most important part of this posture today is to push your foot into your inner thigh muscle. So if you're having a hard time balancing and you're not able to focus on pushing your leg into your thigh, what you can do instead is come down into a tree shape and then just actively push your foot into your thigh. So those are two very viable options for what we're going for today. If you're standing, place your palms either in front of your heart or reach your arms up. You can have elbows bent. You can have arms out straight, whatever works for you. And just take a few slow, deep, even breaths, really focusing on that pressure between foot and thigh. Lower your hands, lower your foot. Other side, place your left foot to your inner right thigh. Feel free to be sitting. If you're standing, push through your standing leg. Bring your palms in front of your heart. And maybe reach your arms over your head or in some other variation that feels best for you. Push foot into leg, leg into foot. Take your slow, steady breaths. Gaze at a steady point for more balance and focus. Lower your hands, lower your foot. Come into downward facing dog. And then from your downward facing dog, shift forward to the top of a push-up. Lower your knees to the floor and lower your belly to the floor. Belly down shoulder stretch. Take your left arm straight out to the left so your palm is flat on the floor, and push your palm down so your armpit moves back. And then roll to your outer left hip. You can stay working here or scoot your hips a little more forward so your hips and heels are in line. Maybe pick up your right leg, bend your knee, and step your right foot to the floor behind you. Feel free to keep your head lifted or relax your ear to the floor. And hold for several breaths. Slowly come out. And then switch sides, make sure you're centered on your mat. Then take your right arm to the right palm flat, move your armpit back. Roll to your outer right hip, scoot your hips slightly forward. Pick up left leg, bend your knee, and maybe step your foot behind you. Feel free to rest your ear on the floor. And again, take slow, steady breaths. Maybe even close your eyes. Or sometimes if you pay close enough attention, some of these yoga postures will promote a trickling sensation in your facial sinuses. You might feel that, you might not. And if you don't feel it, it's okay too. It's still working. Slowly roll back out. Go back to your belly. And on your belly, line up yourself with the middle of your mat. You can lift and lower your hips, make sure your flesh is even underneath you. And then slightly pull yourself forward so your belly flesh moves down. And then take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Move your shoulder blades toward each other, work your arms towards straight, and then just lift your torso up off the floor. Maybe lift your legs up off the floor. Now, you can stay like this in a traditional locust hands bound, or keep everything the same and just drop your forehead to the floor and lift your arms as high as they'll go. You can stay like this or start to roll across your forehead to one side, taking your arms to that same side, and then switch directions, rolling to the other side, taking your arms to the other side. If having your feet up is too much, you can also lower your feet down, but keep your shoulder blades on your back. Just take a few deep breaths, a few cycles back and forth. And then when you're evened out, come back to center, release your hands. And just take your palms to the floor out like cactus arms and drop one side of your face to the floor. Switch sides so your other side of your face is on the floor. And then come back to forehead to the floor. Place your hands beside your sternum. Push up to all fours, hands and knees. Child's pose. Take your knees wide and your big toes together and have a seat on your feet. Either drop your elbows to the floor and just drop your head between your arms, or walk your arms all the way out in front of you and drop your head to the floor, forehead and tip of nose touching the floor. Drop your arms, let your shoulders relax. And just allow your breath to be slow and deep. Breathing your breath into your back body. Walk your hands back towards your ears. Lift your head up. And then walk your hands over to the diagonal right. Push your hands down. And then maybe stack your left palm on top of your right palm and hook your left fingers under your right hand. Pull with your left arm, push with your right arm, and drop your left shoulder toward the floor. Maybe let your head rest on your left arm, sideways child's pose. Then slowly untwist, come back up, walk your hands through the middle to your left. Again, maybe stack right hand on top of left hand, hook your right fingers under, then pull with your right hand, push with your left hand, drop your right shoulder toward the floor, maybe your right ear into your right arm. Slow, steady breaths. And slowly untwist, come back up through the middle. Come onto all fours, lifting your hips off your heels. Swing your right arm all the way up to your right. Then reach your right arm under your left arm. Bring your right shoulder and ear to the floor. If you're having trouble getting your shoulder and ear to the floor, try taking yourself a little further away from your knees. If you need more stretch, you can go closer to your knees. Then maybe walk your left hand forward and to the right. Pull with your right arm. Push with your left arm, just like you did in sideways child's pose. Walk your left hand back. As you untwist, reach your right arm all the way back up. Then lower your hand to the floor. Pick your left arm up, reach all the way up to the left. Then take left arm under your right arm, shoulder, ear to the floor. Again, be as close to or far away from your knee as you need. And then maybe walk your right hand forward and to the left. Push with your right hand, pull with your left. Gently squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other and do your best to square your hips. Walk your right hand back. Untwist, reach your left arm all the way back up to the left. And lower your hand to the floor. This is where you will need your blocks. So go ahead and grab one of your blocks and take it onto your mat out in front of your knees. Take your knees wide, big toes together. Child's pose variation with your forehead and tip of nose on the block. So I take the bridge of my nose to the corner of the block here and forehead on the block. You can adjust it to be further down or further up, whatever works better for you. So from here, take your arms so that they're alongside your torso and just let your head push into the block where your third eye center is. Just allow this pressure to push up into your forehead. If your neck feels uncomfortable with your arms like this, You can also take your arms out in front of you outside the block and just hook your fingers, and that can take some of the weight out of your head. So wherever you are, just focus on your breath. The next several postures are longer holds all the way through to the end of the class. So if at any time you need to come out of the posture before I say so, feel free to do so. Listen to your body and what it needs. Stay connected with your breath. If your mind begins to wander and you notice it wandering, thinking about your day or what you need to do or eat, or some sort of problem you're having, just calmly and gently bring yourself back into this present moment, being as fully here and now as possible. And gently lift your head off of your block. Look forward and just keep your gaze steady for a moment. Then slowly push yourself back up. Grab onto your other block, so you have 2 blocks, and stack one right on top of the other like so the long edges are facing your knees. And then take your hands out in front of you toward the front corners of your mat. You may need to adjust where your blocks are. You'll figure that out once you get into down dog. Curl your toes under, lift your knees up. And then just let the crown of your head rest on your block. And you might just adjust your hands, and that's fine too. So hold your down dog up with your hands and feet like normal, but let the crown of your head rest into the block to relax your neck. You're also pushing in 2 important pressure points for draining the lymphatic system in your face and head. We did yin tong, which was the third eye area. And this point here is actually Du 24, the governing vessel. And it's awesome. So just allow yourself that gentle pressure in the point. It's about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch in the hairline. If your arms get tired or your legs get tired, feel free to come out and do child's pose for the remainder of the time. Be here for a few more long breaths. Lower your knees to the floor, lift your head off of your block, lift your gaze, look forward for a few breaths. Then come into a standing forward fold right behind your blocks. For this one, you may need to do something differently than I have. For me, I can stack one block like I had in the previous posture and then turn the other one up on its wide side setting and just rest my head. It's a similar, same area as the last pose. Or you can take your feet even closer and then rest more of the top of your head on your block. This is between governing vessel 24 and governing vessel 20. So make sure you just adjust your blocks to whatever height you need. You might need to put the other one up on one of its sides instead. And if you're not able to reach the blocks, that's totally fine as well. You can also just take one of the previous posture options as well. Always feel free to bend your knees for more support. We won't be here as long as the last ones. On your next inhale, lengthen your spine to a flatter back. Gaze forward for a couple breaths. And take your blocks off to the sides. Bend your knees and then place your palms under your feet for Pada Hastasana. Palms point up, toes into your wrist creases. Lean your weight more forward into your palms, pushing your whole sole of your foot down into the muscles of your hand. Then widen your elbows to the sides as you reach your heart first, head last toward your legs. Just let your head hang heavy. Maybe shake your head, yes or no. Move your shoulders away from your ears. Just a few breaths here. Slowly step off of your hands. Lengthen your spine to a flatter back. Then slowly lower your knees to the floor. And then we're going to do some neck stretches before we come down onto our backs and before we do Viparita Karani. So go ahead and take one hand to the opposite side of your head. Then just rest your other hand on your thigh. And then gently lean your head to the direction of your arm that's on your head. Just gently lift your chin, push your head against your hand, hand against your head. And now you're going to take this free hand up right below your ear lobe, and then just kind of feather your fingers down that side of your neck and over your collarbone a few times. This is really good for helping to stimulate lymphatic flow from this area, from your head towards your heart. And slowly lift your head back up. Switch to the other side. Let your other hand rest on your thigh. And take your other hand to the opposite side of your head. Push head into hand, hand into head, and gently lean your head to that direction. Take a couple of breaths. And then take your free hand up to just below your earlobe and feather your fingers down your neck, down your collarbone. A few times. And then slowly come back up. And then come down onto your back. Have one of your blocks nearby. And you can either take your block to the lowest setting or the middle setting. You may go up to the highest setting if you're super flexible in your back bends and you want to, but I'm recommending the first two. Slide your block underneath your bottom so that your block is under your sacrum and your tailbone. Just get it where it feels comfortable. And then walk your feet out just a little bit. And from here, you can take your arms alongside your torso, but let your palms point up. And then lift and lower your shoulders so your shoulders can move more onto your back. And just rest here. If you need more relaxation in your legs, you can turn your toes in and let your knees fall toward each other. Just take a few slow breaths. Allow everything to relax as best as possible. Point your toes straight ahead, push your feet down to lift your hips up, remove the block from underneath you, and then rest your knees together, feet wide, hands wherever comfortable, either on your torso or by your side. And then take your arms out like cactus arms. Separate your knees, but keep your feet about as wide as your mat. Drop your knees over to the left. Feel free to stay like this, or you can place the sole of your left foot to the top of your right thigh. Push those 2 points toward each other, and just let your knee push more toward the wall rather than the floor, opposite of your head. You can stay here or grab onto your right wrist with your left hand and pull up in the opposite direction along the floor. Unhook your foot and your wrist, lower your foot, lift your knees up, hips to center. Drop your knees over to your right. Stay here or place the sole of your right foot to your left thigh. Push the points into each other. Maybe grab onto your left wrist and pull up in the opposite direction. Unhook your foot and your wrist, come back up, hips to center. And then just let your knees fall and stagger side to side a few times each. They don't have to come all the way to the floor, just enough to feel like you're rolling over your outer hip muscles. Gentle massage. And then bring your legs back to neutral. Roll to one side and slowly come back up to seated. Go ahead and grab your pillow or bolster prop or blanket stack and take it up toward the wall. I like to have my prop set up about maybe 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches away from the wall. That way my legs can come down at an angle rather than being straight up. And then you're gonna take your hips onto your prop and then take one arm back to support you as you swing your legs up, and then just adjust yourself. You can let your head come down before your hips are even. That way you can push your feet into the wall, lift, and then lower your hips. And then maybe scoot a little bit closer to the wall with your hips, keeping the prop where it is. And then your sacrum is kind of toward the end edge of the prop, and the prop may also be in your middle back area. If that's not comfortable, feel free to adjust your prop wherever it feels best underneath you, or remove it. Let your legs fall open if they want to fall open. Some people like to take a strap or a belt loop around their legs so their legs stay like this. That's totally up to you. But just let your legs relax. Your arms go wherever they're comfortable. And be here for at least 3 minutes if you can. And if you can do 5 minutes or more, even better. Just be here as long as you possibly can. And whenever you feel ready, you can pull your knees toward your chest and roll to one side, hang out there for a moment, and then come back up to seated. Feel free after that point to take Shavasana for a few more minutes, and then gently enter into the rest of your day. Thank you all so much for coming to practice with me. Have a wonderful rest of your day.